Hello and welcome to A Time to Think, Volume 02.01 Update 2. Okay, before I begin, I do want to mention an update to an existing video. Maybe just a brief, short something to explain or to further explain or to clarify a particular point in a video, or maybe I think of a better way of saying something or whatever. It might be just to make a small correction or clarification or update. It may cover most of what I covered in the initial video, or it may be just a little tiny piece. And this is the second update to 02.01, which I believe is titled, I can't prove that God exists, but you can't prove he doesn't. So this is geared, of course, to non-believers. And I guess it sort of feels like maybe I'm beating a dead horse. I just keep repeating, but I thought of another way to, say what I'm thinking, and I hope it'll make some sense to you. Anyway, I want to talk about eternity. Eternity is the absence of time. It cannot be defined in any way in terms of time. Eternity is not a billion times a billion times a billion years. It's not a billion millennia times a billion millennia times a billion millennia to the billionth power. It's beyond that. It has no end. Eternity is outside of time. You cannot use terms of time to define eternity, because there's no such thing as time when you're looking at forever and ever and ever and no ending. So to say it's a billion to the billionth power in years, that's a finite number. Eternity is an infinite, never-ending thing. And see, as humans, we will live for all of eternity. I believe that. We start in a physical form that has a, set amount of time to exist, and then your life ends, and then your soul will then continue forever and ever. So to try to define eternity in terms of time is just not possible. By the way, just to give you an idea of, I said a billion to the billionth power, what kind of crazy number that might be. I'll include a link in the description to this video that talks about 2 to the power of 100. And it gives some examples and so on, and goes through a little of the math and talks about, if you had a piece of paper that you cut in half and, stacked it and cut it again and stacked it and cut it again, stacked it, cut it again. If you did that 100 times, what kind of astronomical kind of number or distance you'd be talking about. It's amazing. So I'll include a link to that in the description, because it's just absolutely incredible to think about. So imagine, once you've looked at that, imagine what a billion to the billionth power might be. Oh my word. But again, that's still a finite thing. It's a huge, astronomical, ridiculous thing beyond the understanding of human beings, but it's still finite. Eternity is infinite. It's outside of time. So God is outside of the physical. God does not exist in that physical form like we do. So you can't prove the existence of God through the physical, through vision, or I can't show you a picture. I can direct you to pictures taken with the Hubble Space Telescope and say, wow, does that not just that to me is like looking at the face of God. But you can say, well, no, that's just a bunch of stars. Fine. But you can't prove the existence of God through physical means. I can't show you a picture. I can't take your hand and say, oh, there's the face of God. You're touching the face of God. So I can't do that. So I do believe that God spoke, probably like out loud, audibly, could actually be heard physically. I believe God spoke to people at some point in time, and people say he speaks to them now, and I don't have any doubt about that. So yeah, I'm sure he speaks to people. I don't think it's an audible, you hear it with your ears kind of thing. I don't believe that. I believe it's you feel it, and you know that it's what God wants you to do, and so you feel that he's speaking to you that way. So you hear it in your mind, in your heart, in your soul. Yes, have no doubts there, but I don't know that you audibly, or anybody really audibly hears the voice of God. So God is outside of the physical, so you can't prove his existence in those terms. You can't, like I said, I can't show you a picture. So for believers, you have to prove the existence of God, or try to prove the existence of God through indirect means. Like, wow, look at this remarkable world we live on. Look at how things function, and there's a perfection in it to me. I mean, sure, we gom things up, humans gom things up, something terrible, most of the time, but, pollute the planet and so on. But just the universe, its vastness, it just functions so beautifully and so perfectly that to me just screams out that there is a God. You see, they talk about the Big Bang Theory and how at some point in several billion years ago, however long it was, that things just kind of exploded into existence. Well, I understand that you can create matter from energy and energy from matter and all of that. But my question, the things that keep playing in my mind, because I think scientists sort of feel that when this big explosion and things just came to be, yeah, sure, anyway, was when time began. But how did something outside the existence of time create space, matter, energy, and time? So to me, there has to be something outside of the physical to have started and created the physical. If in simplest terms, if there was this huge amount of energy that created matter, or some explosion of unimaginable power that created the physical universe, where did that come from? What started it? I mean, time has I mean, the universe is not infinitely old. It's not that, I mean, time, there was a beginning. What made it begin? Who made it begin? I have an idea. I know. Pick me, teacher. Pick me. Anyway, I'm being silly. But to me, the idea that even though it was billions of years ago, that things just happened. I mean, what caused the Big Bang, if that's how the universe started, which, I don't know. I mean, I believe God created the universe. When he did that, I don't know. And how he did that, I don't know. And it could very well have been an explosion of incredible power, but I mean, the power didn't just exist. It didn't just spontaneously happen. So, I don't know. It just, give it some thought. I mean, one thing I'm begging, seriously, I'm begging you. Don't just say, well, people that believe in God are crazy, they're stupid, and dismiss everything I have to say just out of hand. Just, no, he believes, he must be ignorant. Really? I mean, listen to some of these videos. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the smartest person ever lived. Dear Lord knows that's not who I am. I am not the smartest person that ever lived. But for the love of heaven, don't just dismiss me and say, man, you don't know what you're talking about because you believe in God. Well, okay, makes it a whole lot easier on you, doesn't it? You see, the long and short of it is this. I cannot prove that God exists. But this is incredibly important that you understand. Not being able to prove that God exists is not proof that he does not. So let's think about this again. Let's go through this one more time in case you weren't paying attention. Focus. Not being able to prove that God exists is not proof that he doesn't. So you can't go and say, well, God doesn't exist because, Pastor Hillbilly couldn't prove he does. He does. Well, it's outside of the realm of possibilities. I'm physical. God's outside of the physical. I can't prove he exists. I believe he exists, and then faith proved to me that he exists. So, and the only way I can prove it to you is by living a life that shows others, that shows the world that there's something more, there's something outside of me that strengthens me, that keeps me smiling when I don't want to smile, that when I go up to someone and say I love you, I don't know you, but I love you, it's not from me. It's not I'm a dark, sad, pathetic sinner you don't even know. You can't even imagine. But I have to show you that God loves you because he loves me. And I know he exists. And see, when I said that humans live for eternity, we do. But in the here and now, we decide if we're going to spend that eternity with God or separated from God. So, to wrap things up a little. Well, I'm not good at that, so you'll forgive me. I cannot prove God exists, but that does not mean he doesn't. You cannot take it as proof that God, you can't say, well, God doesn't exist because Pastor Hillbilly couldn't prove he does. How ridiculous is that? You can't prove that he doesn't exist, you don't believe, you might want to rethink that. You might want to spend a little time giving that some real consideration. Because if I'm right, and I'm right, I am right, promise, I'm right. If I'm right, and the stakes are as high as I say they are, and there's so much at stake here. Your immortal soul. If I'm right, and I am, you might want to give it some real consideration. Don't take it as proof. Don't say to yourself, well, there isn't a God because Pastor Hillbilly couldn't prove there's a God. Look around you. People are awful. Yeah, we are. Every one of us. We're awful. Sinners. Sick. Depraved. Most of us a bit crazy. Myself included. I apologize. I can't prove he exists, but that's not proof he doesn't. You can't prove to yourself, if you're not a believer, that he doesn't, because he does. There's no way to prove it either way. But this is important. So you might want to rethink. If you don't believe in God, is it because I can't prove to you he exists? Nobody can prove to you he exists. If you believe he exists, it'll be proven to you. You'll understand. It's called faith. I'll leave you with that. Because goodness knows I ramble on and on and on sometimes. This is sort of a paraphrase. I don't know that I'm taking this directly out of a translation of the Bible. I believe it's the New Testament. I'm really going to have to look it up and see where it's at. I'll post that in the description too, where I found this verse, or where I heard this verse. And 2 to the power of 100. Really fascinating stuff. Anyway, it describes faith. It says that faith is the essence of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And that is, to me, one of the most remarkably beautiful things I have ever read. The evidence of things not seen. It's the proof that you need. It's faith. There's no way to prove it otherwise. Anyway, I really, truly appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I hope it meant something. I hope you'll think about it. And I really, truly do, regardless. I hope you have a wonderful day. A wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you.